Our question for today. In her past relationship, none of her partners were into the Dom sub dynamic, and so the only way that she exercised that kink was to be a bit rough in bed. Now she's seeing someone who is kinky and who's into the same things. However, she's not used to asking for what she needs and is running into the issue of wanting to be dominant but having a difficult time asking her partner for the things she wants to do. How then can you exercise your dominant fantasies if you've never had the practice to clearly ask for what you want as a dominant from your submissive?
Yeah, I think this is a great question, and there's a lot of pragmatism in this question. One thing I like about this is that she knows that she wants to inhabit this role. She's starting from that point. She even knows some of the things that she wants to. She's admitted it to herself. At the very least, within her own mind, she has an idea of what she wants. That's important. That's an important first step that many people struggle with. So she's actually already past that point. Then the next step with a partner is figuring out consent. And that is the art of having a conversation that is sexy but not sexual. Often the way I'll do that is by exploring a BDSM checklist. So I use Kinkslist, KINXLIST.com, and have my partner go through. It's a very long checklist, like 200 plus items of all the different, I like whips, but not gags. And I like long gags, but not short gags. And I like heavy bondage, but not light bondage, or whatever the deal is. The checklist is not enough. The checklist is just the start. The checklist at least forces you to honestly put down what you want and how excited it makes you. And then you have to go item by item through the list with your partner and say, where do we match up? Where do we disagree? What are we both excited about? What is one of us excited about, but the other's not? And why? And what does that look like? What excites you about that? Why is that exciting to you? Even on the ones where you agree, and that's often where people get tripped up is, oh, I want to order you around. Oh, I want you to order me. Then we just move on. No. Why? What orders do you want? What's exciting about that? Now, this can end up feeling very unsexy if you approach it in too clinical of a fashion. One of the ways around that is through the medium of storytelling. And so you go through the list, you cuddle up with each other, and you say, oh, we both marked off that we like the idea of me ordering you around. Cool. So what if one day I come home and I order you to put on a maid's outfit and clean the house? Just a story, a one-line story. How would you feel? What would that look like? Okay, what if I wanted you to do it with a butt plug in? Okay, what if, right? You spin this story out. You start mixing different items from the checklist. And in some ways, you're almost looking for the point at which the sub says, I don't know about that, right? And you say, oh, cool, okay. So you were excited about these ideas. Why were those exciting? And then when I got to this and I said, oh, I want you to do it wearing a stripper's outfit instead of a maid's outfit, all of a sudden you weren't into that. Why? What's going on there? And this is delicate because you can't say why in an accusatory way, right? I want this and now you're raining on my parade. That's going to shut things down very quickly. But why in the sense of I want to understand you, your psychology, your meaning better. What does it mean for you to like these things and not like these things? For instance, what if she says, I find the idea of being a stripper degrading in a way that I don't find the idea of being a maid degrading? In an ethical sense, I think that stripping is wrong morally, or whatever the reason is. You know something more about that person. Oh, really? You think stripping is wrong morally? What other things do you think are wrong morally? What if I want to call you my little whore? Oh, no, I couldn't do whore. Slut is fine, but not whore. Whore, if it's monetary and sexual, I think there's something morally wrong with that. Oh, okay. Now I understand something. And literally, I just spun this out of nowhere. I'm just making this up. But the point is that you can understand the deeper aspects of someone's psychology by asking these why questions, both about what you like and about what you don't like. And it's a very long, quote unquote, negotiation process. It's a very long navigating process. However, for OP, in the process of doing that, you would have said what you want. You would have had to own up and fess up to, hey, this is what I want. This is what I'm into. And it's not in the middle of sex. It's not when emotions are high and miscommunication is possible. It's when you're cuddled up and you're being sexy, maybe you're touching each other a little bit, but it's not at a heightened sense of urgency. Ideally outside the bedroom, or at least in a very comfortable cuddled up position, but not immediately moving in a sexual direction. It's just turning each other on with stories in an environment where it is okay to say the wrong thing and turn your partner off. That's why it shouldn't be sexual, right? All of a sudden you say stripper outfit and she's like, no, fuck that. Well, maid outfit was fine. What? What the hell, right? I didn't see that coming, and that's great. That's why it's important for it not to be sexual, but sexy is cool. I'll turn you on again with the next story. The next story is going to be about tying you up and using rope, and you're like, oh no, I like leather. Okay, cool. Again, turning on, turning off with this storytelling. One more step to it. And that step is finally saying verbally, I want you to do this. So after all the negotiation, after large sections of the checklist have been gone through, at the very least the hard limits and the must limits, then saying, okay, are you okay if we do a little bit tonight? Are you okay if we just play with these few elements tonight? Make it a very constrained scene. Make it a very limited scene. We're just talking about me ordering you around, nothing outside the bedroom. Constrain it tightly so it can't go too wrong. And then find the courage to say, okay, I want you to take your clothes off. I want you to give me a back rub. I want. And I think it'll be much easier if you've gone from owning your desires with your partner in the checklist to then expressing them in real time. I want you to do this.
I would highly recommend people using that Kinks list when you end up just asking the question with someone you've never met before. You can be the most dominant person in the world, but you are still going to have to negotiate the acceptance of that with someone you're in a submissive dynamic with. That's best done when you're like, well, I'm just referring to this list I have in my hand. Mm-hmm. Are you okay with so-and-so? There's something about just getting the words out into the air.
Absolutely.
Right in front of the other person that sort of breaks the wall.
Yes.
Right? They're like, oh, this is a highly intimate conversation that we're having. The list is a very useful device that facilitates the conversation. There's something for you to refer to. You're like, well, I didn't write this. Some other guy, that guy's a pervert, whoever wrote this stuff. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
I'm not into this either, but I'm just reading off the list.
Totally.
So there's something about getting that out and using the list as a reference point that I found very useful. It unburdens you from having to go through a list of things that you are highly interested in yourself, because you're just being thorough. You just want to go through all of them. Many of them are things you may be interested in yourself, but just the idea of referring to an external list somebody else made has been very useful in my own practice.
I think it's phenomenally useful for a couple of reasons. One is many fairly extreme kinks are covered in that list. So the opportunity to say, no, I'm not into being pooped on, makes it a little easier to say, but I could be into being spanked. Setting the bar at a different level makes that conversation in honesty a bit easier. So that's a huge advantage, the opportunity to say no. The second advantage is the comparison on some level, and especially if it's done in fairly early dating, you may realize, hey, spanking is my number one thing, and it's on your list of hard limits. This is not going to be a long-term relationship. We can play at other things. That's fine if we want to have some cool, kinky sex, but all of a sudden we realize that's not a viable relationship, because literally I will be signing up to be unfulfilled in my primary desire for the rest of my life, right? And so I think that gives the opportunity to be very open and be like, cool, hey, before hearts are involved, let's realize that we're not that well aligned on this really important thing. So that matchup is very easy. And then even if you're playing a bit casually or you're having more casual sex, I think that saying we're going to stay away from areas where our interest levels are different, and we'll do the things that we're both into, right? And that makes it easy to stay well within the bounds of what's exciting.